There is Bert Lock with his hands on his hips. The pitch has been covered, of course, the whole time. There hasn't been a great deal of rain. Up to 8:15 this morning, there hadn't been anything really, and it just started to drizzle then. There's been a bit of rain, obviously, since then, as you know, anybody who lives in London. But the pitch itself, of course, perfectly dry, and the surrounds just a little bit greasy, which is the only reason why they aren't starting promptly to time. There's the 30 hundredweight roller. And there's the gentleman who is 74 not out and on whom England's hopes rest so much. Geoff Boycott, who I saw last night, who's absolutely dead keen, of course, on getting his first Test 100 and making it possible for England to win this match. The one thing that England don't want is any waste of time due to bad light or rain. They need all the time they can get to try and make, shall we say, another 300 or another 270 or so, and so set Australia something over 200, 220, 240 to get, which might be difficult. It might not. This wicket should take a little bit of spin on Tuesday. And, of course, Colin Cowdrey, a tremendous amount rests on him. We've got to have a big innings from either himself or Ken Barrington or Peter Parfitt. There's Ken there. Again, he was in very good form last night. They all had a very restful Sunday. I also saw the great man, Freddie Truman, who, still pinching himself, couldn't really believe he'd done this wonderful job of getting 300 Test wickets. I hope you heard his remark he made on the television when we interviewed him, when we asked him if anyone else would ever do it. He said, well, I don't know about that, but if he does, he'll be very, very tired, which I think is an understatement. It is really quite bright at the moment, the light and everything. It's hazy overhead, very sticky. There are the two umpires we saw just coming out. The smart check coat is Charlie Elliott, Jack Craft the other side. So they're coming out very promptly to time to have a look, and I'm pretty optimistic that play will start in about 10 minutes or quarter of an hour. Well, having stuck my neck out again, we're going to keep the pictures up for you, and we shall, of course, let you know in words as soon as we have any message from the umpires. And as you see, it's good news. Play is going to start. There is Bobby Simpson leading out his men, followed by Bill Lorry. The gates, of course, have been opened, the wicket has been rolled, and England have lost a vital 15 minutes, because every single minute's going to count if England's going to have a chance of winning this match. It's got to try and get at least a run a minute for most of today and set Australia something like 220, 40 or something like that to win. And here are the two vital men at the moment. Geoff Boycott, who is 74 not out, leading, followed by Freddie Titmus, who is still to get off the mark, who came in as night watchman. England 65 runs behind still. And the first job, as I know Geoff Boycott knows, is to get rid of that 65 runs and then begin to get a lead as quickly as possible. Titmus was in for 20 minutes last night. Here's some sawdust arriving out, because the rain really didn't start here till about 8:15, and it came on fairly heavily after that for a bit. And it's only the question of the surrounds, where the wicketkeeper stands, the bowler's footmarks and so on, which are going to cause any trouble. I expect the odd fielder will slip up every now and again, because there are one or two bare patches from the old pitches, but the pitch itself, of course, completely covered, quite dry. Charlie Elliott there talking to Bobby Simpson. Peter Burge having a word with him now. Titmus to take the first ball. He suddenly realised it last night when I was talking to him. I said, who's taking the first ball tomorrow morning? And he suddenly realised it was him. And he's going to face up to Mackenzie. Bound perhaps to be a little bit of freshness and dampness about the pitch, perhaps from the atmosphere. And looks like a fairly attacking field. But Lorry very close in there at short leg. So here it comes now. Oh, well, you've heard me say, oh, someone trod on my headphones. Nearly pulled my ears out. It was our old friend Richie Benno who's turned up here this morning. Typical digger action, that. Good morning, Richie.
Good morning, Mr. Compton. It's just pacing up and down here waiting to grab the microphone, so I'll give it to him, Brian. I'll come back with Peter later on.
Righto, here's the first ball.
Good morning, Richie.
And England now 64 runs only behind. Titmus off the mark after 20 minutes, and Neil the fielder. And you'll notice Laurie running across, coming away from that short leg position for Boycott to go into the covers there to stop this stroke of his off the back foot, which is one of Boycott's favourite strokes. So there's no short leg close at all, but Brian Booth is just by the square leg umpire. Laurie, the fielder there. Jack Kraft, the umpire, up the far end. And the kidneys. Tom Vivers, the fielder down there at long leg. No run, of course. Might get two there. Vivers running round. Yes. Two more to Boycott, making him now 76. And at the end of the over, I think we'll bring in our friend Dennis Compton to find out if he was captain of England, what would his instruction to his batsmen be? What sort of target would you want for today?
Well, first of all, Brian, good morning, everybody. And I hope we can bring you some good and bright news from the English camp today, and furthermore some entertaining cricket. Now, I think once the boys get their eye in and get a good sight of the ball, I would like to see them play their shots throughout today. If we lose, well, let's lose by setting a very good example. But this is our only possible chance of winning. So I would like to see something in the region of about 300 runs scored today by the Englishmen. So that means, in fact, that we've got to have one or two of our players, batsmen, making big innings. Geoff Boycott firmly entrenched now and played beautifully on Saturday night with 76. I hope we can see a fine innings from Colin Cowdrey. Long overdue now, and I'm sure if he did really find his form, it would give everybody immense joy.
Thank you, Dennis. And we're going to see Neil Hawke bowl. And these were the two who were bowling at the end last night. We had Hawke from this end and Mackenzie from the far end. This will be Hawke's 19th over. He's had 32 runs scored off him, and Mackenzie's bowled 16 and has taken 2 for 50. Hawke to Titmus. Titmus, of course, who opened up at Trent Bridge so valiantly at the last moment when, remember, John Edridge had to withdraw on the morning of the match. He hasn't been batting at all well this year, and his test scores are 15, 3, 14 and 9, but he hasn't been batting even very well for Middlesex, so perhaps this is a morning for him to produce his best. He can hit the ball very well indeed. And he's done so that time. Just one run though, down to third man. Laurie the fielder. England 136 for 2. Start delayed this morning by 15 minutes because of the dampness of the surrounds. Hot and sticky here today. Going right down the leg side. Peter Burge picking it up. Geoff Boycott, who's had such a magnificent start to his test career this season, had some very useful scores. Was 48 up at Trent Bridge. He didn't play at Lord's and was 38 and 4 at Headingley, 58 at Old Trafford, 76 at the moment. Kenzie behind him there. He took it away all right.
Why it is, but there seems to be a little life this morning, which was certainly missing on Saturday. Maybe it's the damp atmosphere. Of course, as you know, the rain hasn't affected the wicket because it's been entirely covered. But that was rather a nasty delivery, only just short of a length. And Mackenzie bowled 1-2 in his first over, which got up rather nastily.
It was very damp here this morning when I came down, and it's very sort of just drizzling, and it obviously has affected the top of the grass a little bit, although it's had a mow today. One came back a bit. You can mow every alternate day, remember, in test matches. It's mowed on the first morning, then on the Saturday, then on the Monday.
One man meant to mow, Brian.
Yes, they only need one man for this one. They have a wonderful little mower. Sort of thing I'd like on my lawns. Very light, but cuts very finely. 5 runs then added this morning. Number 1 Boycott, number 8 Titmus. 60 runs behind. Mackenzie to bowl to Boycott as soon as some member of the public gets to his seat at the back. That's nice. That's his square one, which has evaded Laurie, though. It's finding it a little bit difficult running over the slippery surface there. They've taken 2. I must say Boycott plays that stroke beautifully. Takes him up to 79, 139 for 2.
Yes, he gets away from the ball and he gives himself plenty of room in which to play the shot. He's a fine player off his back foot.
And he's done it again. And that one's going to go down for 4 runs. Yes. Hawke couldn't quite get done. That's Boycott's 7-4. He goes up to 83. Laurie is in much the same place. He hasn't been placed any squarer at cover. Brown Booth. Brown Booth and two of the others went along to the theatre on Friday night, had a good laugh. They relaxed after their hard work out batting there. They don't get a lot of theatres at home, the Australians. Bill Laurie, the fielder. Simpson and Redpath on the slips. Notice how he watched that one right onto the bat. Yes, that's nicely placed. Brown Booth couldn't cut that off, and they'll take just 2 runs, or they're going for a third. Yes, they're going for the third. 1 for the throw. 86 now to Boycott. I daren't say how well he's playing, but I'll leave you to judge at home. 146 for 2. Very hot and sticky here at the moment, but the clouds are high in the sky. Let's hope the weather forecasters are going to be proved dead wrong. Boycott's got the bowling, so Titmus still 2 not out at this end. And Hawke to bowl. England now 51 runs behind. That's Ian Redpath there at forward short leg, coming away from the slips. So there's a strong leg side field now with a backward short leg, a mid wicket, a mid on and a long leg. Might just have a look at them. There's Redpath, the first of them. There's the long leg, the mid wicket and the mid on. O'Neill at mid-on. Off his hip. And once again, in case any club cricketers are watching, they always get a bit puzzled. You can't run unless you make a stroke in first-class cricket. And there's a note to that. It's Law 30, and there's a note under the regulations of first-class cricket which makes exception for first-class cricket, although it is carried out also, I understand, up in the leagues up in Yorkshire. But basically it's meant to be for first-class cricket. First maiden of the morning, 20 overs now from Hawke, 0 for 34. Number 1 there, Boycott. Number 8, Tipness. And I think Simpson is going to have an over himself, is he? He hasn't had one so far in this innings. Let's have a look. He's got the ball anyhow. Yes, he's stripping off. Interesting, Dennis? So early?
Yes, very interesting. And I think from their point of view, a chance worth taking. Very useful leg spinner, Bobby Simpson. And he has a very deceiving and deceptive googly. If he drops it, then he could give us a little bit of trouble.
Yes, I suppose it's fair to say that Freddie Tipness is probably not so happy against spin.
No, he's not.
Well, he's not out too, facing up to Simpson now. So 14 runs added this morning in just over a quarter of an hour. He struck a length straight away. Turned slowly there, didn't it?
Yes, and it was a little bit on the short side. Freddie Tipness had plenty of time which to see it turn and play it off the back foot. That was a better length.
Nice stroke, but straight to the fielder, Mackenzie. Well, that's a good start for Simpson, a maiden. What he's going to do. He's coming down the pitch here to have a word with Mackenzie, I think, who's going to take over this end. It might be just one over from Simpson there to change the bowlers round. Anyhow, Mackenzie's going to bowl now from the pavilion end in place of Hawke. Quite a good crowd in this particular spot. The gates, of course, weren't opened until it was certain there was going to be play, so that people still coming into the ground. There was quite a good queue while it was raining hard this morning. People with newspapers on top of their heads as umbrellas. And now it's quite fine, but overcast and very sticky. Mackenzie to Boycott. Titfer, please. Looks to me as if Geoff Boycott, either like someone sitting behind a lady with a big hat asking someone to remove their hat, or he wants one for himself. I think he wants to put on a cap. Well, someone's wearing a hat which, I don't know if it's some member in the pavilion. This is rather unusual. If it had started to drizzle, one would think he might have wanted to cap just to keep the drizzle off his specs, but I think it's some hat he doesn't approve of in the pavilion. No, he's very worried about it. If it has just begun to drizzle, and I think perhaps it may have, we're just checking outside the... Just a tiny spot coming down. It could be it's getting on his specs. He wants to wear a cap. Yes, that's it. There we are. That's Colin Dryborough, who's 12th man. There's Norman O'Neill acting as carrier. This is it. It is drizzling a tiny bit. But it's very, very fine. But our weather forecaster here, Dennis Compton, says it looks very bright at the back. As it's coming from the front, it doesn't make much difference there. But still, thank you very much, Dennis, for that interesting forecast.
Oh, you are in great form this morning, Brian.
Yes, his England cap with the crown and 3 lions, and he's just wiping the specs there, so he'd obviously got a little bit of trouble there. 1 or 2 problems wearing specs. You can also get an awful lot of glare, I think, overseas, Dennis. Isn't this so in places like India? And it is a bit difficult.
Yes, South Africa and Australia. Can be.
I know Mike Smith has had a little bit of trouble, I think. Well, just to bring you up to date, 146 for 2, 14 runs added this morning, 86 to Boycott, 2 to Titmus. England still 51 runs behind. Play didn't start until 11:45, so England lost a very valuable 15 minutes. Mackenzie to Boycott. He saw that one all right. Beaver's the fielder. Made that very attractive 67 not out. Goodness, he played well. Fine hitter of the ball, lovely 6 over mid-wicket, and he really gave a bit of hammer to the off-spin of Titmus, and also hit Cartwright too. That one was quite high, as you could see that Wally Grout had to take it over his left shoulder up the top. Gets quite a bit of lift. Yes, 1 run means he's got the bowling. O'Neill fields 147 for 2, 87 Boycott, 50 runs behind, and it looks as if Hawke is going to go on the other end. So here to take up the commentary now is Peter West.
Good morning.
Before I sign off, Peter, I know you to be such a punctual person, but this morning I found you were 5 minutes adrift. Perhaps you'd like to explain to the viewers why you were 5 minutes late.
Well, now, steady on, Dennis. Don't rub it in. Absolutely true. I didn't miss any play. I've been giving evidence in Romford Police Court this morning in connection with the theft of my car a year ago. The last thing the magistrate said to me before I left the court was, do you think the play will start on time? He seemed to me to have a proper sense of priorities. And I would like to assure him that it was only 15 minutes late. And the Essex Police are marvellous. They gave me every assistance to get here. Hawke then to Boycott. Boycott's had much the larger share of the strike in this partnership, according to Ross Salmon. 51 as against 20, but not really surprising as Titmus came in as night watchman on Saturday. One run, reducing the Australian lead to 49. Boycott 88. Bobby Simpson asking cheerful cricketer Tommy Beavers to come round a little squarer at long leg. One. 149 for 2. Titmus 3. .49 for 2 then. 3 to Titmus and 88 to Boycott. A lot of mail this morning. I'd like to thank all the correspondents for writing to us. We're absolutely inundated with it, and I don't suppose we'll be able to get round to answering them all in person. Do our best. But Boycott there, one query this morning. When last did a player wearing spectacles regularly open for the England side? Now, Dennis, Paul Gibb was with you in South Africa in 38-39, apart from Mike Smith, of course, in more recent years.
That is so, but I wasn't myself personally in South Africa in 38-39, but Paul Gibb did open with Sir Leonard Hutton, and he wore glasses, of course.
I'd forgotten, I thought you were on that tour.
No, I was asked to go, but the Arsenal Football Club at the time. Thought I might be more used to them. How wrong they were.
150 up for 2 wickets. 47 behind. Dennis has now handed over to Richie. Richie, we were trying to answer a query from a viewer this morning. When last did anyone wearing spectacles regularly open for England? We thought of Mike Smith. I can't recall him getting through a complete series opening the innings, and then there was Paul Gibb before the war.
Yes, they're the only ones I know, and of course from other countries, Barlow is the most recent from South Africa. Good player too. He'll cause some of the England bowlers some trouble in South Africa. Good strike player and a good courageous player. Rather interesting. I doubt very much if ever in a test series before 2 bespectacled batsmen have opened the innings for opposite sides, as will happen in South Africa with Boycott and Barlow.
O'Neill. One run off that Mackenzie over. He's now bowled 19 overs, 4 maidens, 2 for 61. Boycott has made 88, Titmus 4. Willie Watson on the left, Cowdrey on the right. I don't know whose feet they are, whether they belong to our Fred. I shouldn't think he's got his boots on yet. Whose boots do you think those are? Do you recognise them, Richie?
I haven't seen those feet before, Peter, no.
Shot by Titmus for 1 run. Down to Booth. 151 for 2. Titmus this morning has made 5 in just over half an hour. And Boycott 14. Trying to find out whose feet they were, and we found this out, and then the feet were removed. So I've been shouting down. There you are. I've just been shouting down. Ah, Peter, we wanted to find out whose feet they were. Now we know. There he is. We were just wondering whose feet they were down there. We had a nice picture of them, Peter. $151 for 2. Hawke, 22 overs, none for 37. 88 to Boycott, 5 to Titmus, and Mackenzie from the pavilion end. 1 run. 6 to Titmus. One more. Laurie at third man. 153 for 2. Richard Benner, you're being awfully quiet this morning.
It's a pretty quiet sort of day, Peter. Looking forward to a very good day's cricket. I think this could be one of the most interesting days we've had, but of course it all depends on the weather. If the weather will only hold off, England can make enough runs to make it a very good match. It was a good delivery from Mackenzie. It's rather interesting, Peter, the part that Titmus might play in the day's play. He went in as a night watchman, in error I thought on Saturday night. I'd have sent in a batsman because there's nothing wrong with the light, and they had to keep the scoring rate moving, as it had been when Dexter and Boycott were together. Now, in the space of 40 minutes, am I right this morning? 40 minutes this morning, Titmus has made 7. Now this is fine if he's going to build on this. He's been batting an hour altogether, Ross Salmon tells me. If he's going to build on this and push the scoring rate along, that's fine. But they have got to keep the rate moving. They've got to keep up with the clock at least, if they're going to give the Australians 200 to make tomorrow. There's not much point in only setting the Australians something like 100 or 110, because they'll probably get them on their ear. They've got to set them about 200, and to do that, they've just got to make a lot of runs today. I think that Titmus has got to push it along a little bit. Boycott's certainly doing that. Batting very well indeed, exactly as he did on Saturday. But they've got to get moving, and they've got to have a basis for Cowdrey and Barrington and Parfitt to work on as well.
Well, that's very well placed by Titmus, and it'll be 4 runs. Good old-fashioned inside edge, picked up by Vivas. Hard luck on Hawk. 158 for 2. Titmus having a look at the edge of his bat. Geoff Boycott wanting just 11 for his first Test match 100. And as everybody is saying this morning, how well Geoff Boycott has played. Neil Hawke now has bowled 5 overs this morning for 9 runs. 4 of them off the edge there. Mackenzie always a little more liberal with runs. This is his 6th over, and off 5 this morning he's conceded 16. Missing the leg stump, I fancy. Good delivery. Graham Mackenzie, 28 wickets in this Test series. Fine achievement, Richie. Only wanting 2 to set up a new record for an Australian Test bowler in a series here. 29 by Clay Grimmett, isn't it?
Yes, he's done very well. When he came over here, he was acknowledged to be the spearhead of the attack. Simpson's used him in much the same way, Peter, as I used to use Davidson when things have been going well. I used to use Davidson to try and keep the pressure up. When things were going badly, I used to use him to try and apply the pressure. And Simpson's done much the same with Mackenzie on this tour. In fact, what it amounts to is that at every possible moment in a Test match, he's had him on bowling, and the young fellow's responded wonderfully well. I think it is Grimmett who has the 29. Bill Johnston got, what, 28 in 1948? Lindwall was up there. Been some great names up round about the mark, but no one's ever quite got past the 29.
Mackenzie. Mackenzie about 10 yards back. Get a foreshortening effect on that particular shot. And Redpath is about 4 yards off. Two to go in this over, and the position is that after a delayed start, quarter of an hour late, in 47-48 minutes by the oval clock this morning, England have made 27 without loss. He's got the bowling again, and he's going to get an overthrow. 2 overthrows, making 3 in all. Crowd enjoying the fun. So, that's now 30 runs added this morning. And the difference between the two sides is now exactly 35. Boycott 93. Slow one, the end of the over. And there is the England score, which we leave for a moment as we join in the newsroom Richard Baker.
Mackenzie to Boycott. Beavers the fielder at mid-off. Brown Booth.
Two interesting deliveries, Brian. Both at what we might term about half rat power. Mackenzie might be preparing for one really quick one in this over.
No runs been added since you left. 162 for 2. Just the 30 runs added this morning. 93 now, Boycott. 11 to Titmus. England 35 runs behind. Mackenzie bowling. Nice full pitch, and it's coming up for 4 runs. That makes him 97. That's his 8th 4. Beavers retrieving the ball down at front of the pavilion there. Boycott's first scoring stroke down towards long off. 97 now. Mackenzie coming in. No. O'Neill fielding there in the covers. So that's the end of that over. 166 for 2.
Change in the Australian bowling with Vivas coming on. Simpson just placing the field for him now.
So that Hawke has bowled 24 overs 7 metres, 0 for 44. Mackenzie 22 overs 2 for 68. England have added 34 in about 55 minutes this morning. Play didn't start until 11:45, owing to rain. Burge there, very near the pitch. Redpath and Mackenzie also in the little leg trap round the corner. Just there they are. Mackenzie nearest us, Redpath in the middle. It's a good stroke. It's 4 runs from Titmus. That's his second 4. A nice short one for him. He's pretty good off the back foot there with his cuts. 170 for 2. And he's gone and done it again, but it won't go through. Nice bit of cutting off there by Hawke. Wasn't quite as wide. He had to step back, try and give himself room to do it. Oh, that's a tremendous hit. Well done. He's really hit that one right up to the far end. It's a 6 up by the Vauxhall stand. Oh, well. That's the first 6 of the innings. Remember, Beaver's got one on Saturday over mid-wicket. What a lovely stroke that was. Titmus suddenly emerging from his chrysalis. 21 to him now. He'll be delighted with that. 176 for 2. Just 21 runs behind. Ten off that over. Beaver's 16 overs, 8 maidens, 0 for 40. That pushes the scoring rate up a little bit. 44 added now in about 56 minutes. Number 1 there, Boycott. He's got the bowling and he's going to face Mackenzie. Wonder what he's feeling like. His first Test century lying ahead of him. He sent for a cap earlier when it was drizzling, but he's discarded that now. It's just hot and muggy at the moment. Here it is. Mackenzie coming in. They get one there. Calling the fielder. 98. Burge in the gully. Ooh. Yes, a bit close. He's done a jolly good job, Freddie Titmus. Just working out where that ball pitched and how near he was to it. So he takes leg stump or just outside it, and then moves in a little bit as the bowler comes. Moves right across. Oh! Just to the left hand there of Redpath. Down it went. So Titmus has a little bit of luck. 22 to him. And it means that he gets the bowling. Boycott still 98 at the far end. So poor Boycott's got to wait a little bit longer. Mackenzie 2 for 70 now after 23 overs. England 19 behind, Dennis.
Yes, he bowled some good delivers there at Fred Titmus. Mackenzie. Just carried to Redpath, but it would have been a super catch if he'd have taken it.
Beaver's coming up for his second over from the Vauxhall end. Notice Burge has been removed from that short leg position and Laurie's been dropped out at long on. Rather wide. Burge is at mid-on, Laurie back towards the Vauxhall stand. We've been a little bit remiss in the excitement, I think, of that 6. We missed the fact that it's the 50 partnership between these two. They've now put on 58 together. What a useful partnership. in an hour and 20 minutes. It's another nice stroke, but it goes straight to round Booth at point. No run.
Fred Titmuss, he seems to have a pretty useful bat in his hand there this morning. The ball is fairly flying off it. I mention this because in the first test match at Nottingham, when he opened the innings, I had his bat afterwards, and I must say it sounded like a banjo when I used it. Perhaps it was the chap behind it, maybe, but didn't seem a very good one.
He's doing the old bat and pad thing now again, which I like to see him swing the bat like he did for that 6. But anyhow, that was a maiden, and after exactly an hour then, England this morning batted 46. As Beavers, after that maiden, 17 overs, 9 maidens, north for 40. Boycott's one of these great talkers, I think, you know, sort of. Oh, he's giving Titters a little bit of instruction, I think, telling him what to do. Well, I suppose he's #1 batsman. Anyhow, here he is, 98 not out, and calling to bowl to him in place of Mackenzie. First over of the morning. He's just had 5 in the innings so far, 0 for 19. Couple of slips he's going to have there. Simpson going up to second slip, but a big gap there, no gully, you'll notice. England 19 runs behind. 2 for his 100. Ooh, no. Brown Booth picking it up. Make a joke with Charlie Elliott. Calling has got Boycott 3 times. He got him once up at Trent Bridge and twice at Headingley. That's going to be fielded by O'Neill. No. Calling to Boycott, 98 not out. Not to be tempted, because Simpson caught him the 3 times off calling. All 3 times caught at first slip. That's it. Yes, he's 100. Boycott's got 100 for his first test 100. And how pleased and relieved he looks.
Well done, Geoff Boycott. A really magnificent century. And what a lovely shot to get it with, too. He leant back there and hit it square past O'Neill for 4. Well, he's smiling away, and he must be very, very pleased with himself, yeah?
Heaved a terrific sigh of relief then, I don't know if you noticed. It's taken him just a couple of minutes over 4 hours. He's hit 9 fours. $182 for 2 now. And England now just 15 runs behind. And the important thing I would think now is for them to try and push this scoring rate up a little bit. They started 132 and we felt they want another 300, so it's a target of something over 400 by the end of the day.
Yes, nobody in a better position to do that, Brian, than Geoff Boycott now, who's occupying the crease. I should imagine he's seeing the ball like a football, and without taking any undue risks, he could really step up the tempo. And knowing Geoff Boycott, I should think he'll take fresh guard now and endeavour to do this.
Viva's coming up for his 18th over. Burning to Titmus, who's 22, not out. Red path. Dennis, that remark of yours just now about seeing a ball like a football, I'm sure a lot of lady viewers be interested in the answer. Do you consciously think it looks bigger? And do you feel definitely is? After you've got about 100?
I would say yes, after you've reached 100. Psychologically, batting becomes a very easy task when you pass the 100, on assuming it is a good wicket, of course, and this one is.
Terrible thing to think that I shall never know how easy batting is then. I don't think I shall ever get 100.
No, as I said before, Brian, I couldn't fancy you to get 100, oh boy, after your exhibition the other week.
Another run. 183 for 2. And Boycott now have the cap on again. I don't know if it's just started to spit with rain. Protect his glasses. Just spitting with rain, yes. So this is just to stop the rain getting on his glasses. He's 102. Titmus has gone up to 23. Jack Crap asking not the pigeons to move, I don't think. No, that chap moving at the back. Sit down, sir, please. Thank you. Laurie, the fielder. Boycott, aged 23. He was made the cricket writer's choice for the best young cricket of the year last year. Tremendous future in front of him. Got his cap last year for the first time. Titmus facing, calling. 23 not out.
Yes, Brian, Yorkshire very much in the news these past 2 days. Fiery Fred's fantastic feat on Saturday with 300 wickets, which I'm sure, I'll say again, will never be beaten, I don't think. And Geoff Boycott's magnificent 100 a day. So Yorkshire can be proud of those two.
Yes, yeah. Yes, well taken single. O'Neill trotting in on the leg side. Burge trotting in, not O'Neill. Titmus goes to 24. England 184 for 2, just 13 runs behind now. It's a nice stroke, fielded by Brown Booth. Nicely turned off his legs. Hawk down there. $103 now to Boycott. 185 for 2. England just 12 runs behind. Titmus 24, Boycott 103, his first ever Test century. And I would think the forerunner of a great many more. Beavers, the bowl is 19th over. He's taken no wickets, 41 runs scored off him so far. Bowling to Boycott. Red path. Not a movement behind there, not at all, the spectators. Molly Grout could, I suppose, be keeping in his last Test in England, almost certainly, probably. Wouldn't come on another tour. Great wicketkeeper. Beavers his second maiden of the morning. 19 overs, 10 maidens now, 0 for 41. England still 12 runs behind. Number 1 Boycott, number 8 Titmus. Play didn't start until a quarter to 12, so they've been going now about 74 minutes. And they've added this morning 53 in that time. I think the important thing again is for them to try and get this scoring rate going. Calling to bowl with the sun actually coming out here. It's really a very pleasant day. A few little clouds, but they're pretty high up. Calling to Titmus. the view O'Neill gets from cover of Titmus. Steered down there. Bill Laurie, the fielder. One more to Titmus. He goes up to 25. 186 for 2. Great hitcher up of his trousers, Titmus. Always hitches them up just before he bowls. Perhaps it's just as well if he feels they're coming down, but he'll perhaps might tighten them up a bit. Edge, but all along the ground, fielded by Redpath. End of that over. 8 overs. 0 for 26, just the one off that. England then still 11 runs behind. Boycott 103, Titmus 25, and here until lunch is Peter West.
Got a little late starting there. .26 to Titmus. One run off the over. 55 runs scored this morning by England without loss in 80 minutes of play. Late start at 11:45. Cowdrey, Barrington, both of them padded up. Ted Dexter and Civvies, Peter Parfitt, Colin Dryburn, the Middlesex skipper, 12th man. Ted Dexter's playing with you on Sunday, isn't he, Dennis? Haven't you got a match up in Newmarket?
That's right, yes, at Mr. Stanhope Joel's 11 at Newmarket on Sunday, and we've got Fiery Fred playing, and one of the English selectors, Willie Watson. So it should be a very, very interesting game.
.188 for 2. Titmus 27. A run. Well, played at that one. Only 6 singles in the last quarter of an hour since Boycott achieved the magic 3 figures in his, well, the first time in a test match. So I'm sure he's anxious to push it on a bit, Dennis. He must be well conscious of the need to keep it moving.
Yes, the tempo's slowed really since Fevers has come on, after Fred Titmus had hit him for a 6 and a 4. That's a good stroke, well stopped by Norman O'Neill at cover point. I think this is only, though, just a temporary lull. I'm sure, as you say, he'll be very conscious of getting after it after lunch.
One more. .189 for 2. Boycott 104. Calling his 4th over today, 2 runs off it. 4 overs today for 9 runs. Mackenzie has bowled 8 overs today for 24 runs. Hawke bowled 6 overs for 12. And this is Vivers, having bowled 5 overs for 12 likewise. It's 4 runs. Good shot. His 10th four. Bringing Boycott to 108. That's William Lorry. Fourth shot played by Boycott to that particular part of the boundary. 193 for 2. It's the end of the over. 61 runs scored then this morning in an hour and 25 minutes. A late start. Richie Benno has joined me again. Richie, how do you sum up events today so far?
Well, it's been a very good morning. Boycott's played wonderfully well. Titmus has, after a very, very slow start, kept the scoring rate moving. And England are going along very well in quest for victory. As everyone knows, they need to win this match to halve the series, having already lost the Ashes at Old Trafford. They're going the right way about it this morning. Good tactics, good batting. Simpson trying to contain them a little bit now with 3 men on the onside. In an arc from just behind square leg to mid-on. 1 man down at long leg. 2 in the covers and a deep third man. Not having a great deal of success in doing so. Boycott's played very well. Delightful square cut that brought him his century, first century in Test cricket, and a well-deserved one too. And Simpson has used his pacemen for much of the time, calling operating now.
Only 3 runs the difference now between the two sides. 3 runs and England are level. No. The wind has changed right round today. Calling now bowling into it. More or less into it. I should think the wind is coming in over Redpath's head at second slip. Booth. Well, I wouldn't like to say which wind the wind is blowing. It's blowing about all over the shop this morning. Oh! A bit close to that, but he's got to go for his shots. One run off that over by Calling. 10 overs, none for 29. Bobby Simpson had 1 over this morning to enable his pace bowlers to change round. He bowled it at the far end. Geoffrey Boycott, if you missed it, got his 100 with a splendid square cut, as mentioned a moment ago by Richie, at 10 minutes to 1. His first ever in Test cricket, and we're quite sure the first of many. Cheerful Vivas coming up for his 22nd over. 46 runs off him so far. Bowling at Titmus, who's made 28. Titmus was still to get off the mark when play began this morning. Boycott has moved from 74 to 108.34. Nice footwork. Just the one to Laurie. And it's just a little to the right of that. Titmus, about half an hour ago, startled Peter Burge, fielding at short mid-on, or forward short leg, with a magnificent 6 over mid-on's head. Long, low, raking shot. Two runs behind.
Beaver spinning the occasional ball, but the pitch not seeming to be playing too badly at all today. Almost half a yard short to Redpath. I think what the Australians might like to see, Peter, is a bit of rain later in the afternoon. Just enough to keep them off the field for half an hour and enough to wet the pitch. I suppose when they woke up this morning, they weren't all that unhappy to see the weather a bit cloudy and overcast, give them a chance to bowl in reasonable conditions.
Well, Reggie, I'm afraid there's no chance of rain at all. I'm awfully sorry. It's going to be a bright, sunny afternoon.
Well, I don't think that'll matter. That certainly won't worry me. I'd much rather sit here and watch some good cricket as it's been than sit watching the rain pelt down on an uncovered strip. Titmus, after that slow beginning I mentioned, has kept up the scoring rate. He scored almost as many runs as Boycott this morning now. Boycott sensibly has been farming the bowling, had a lot more of the strike than Titmus. Titmus has taken the opportunity of cracking the loose ball. He's taken most of his runs from some very sensibly played strokes. Peter, there's an interesting movement of Titmus's here that the viewers might like to watch. Just as Calling is about to bring his arm over, before he's ever let the ball go, Titmus is committed to a forward stroke. If you watch his front foot and front pad, you see that the movement is very definitely forward as Calling delivers. Forward and across to the offside, so that in fact his foot's a fraction outside off stump when the ball's delivered. The great fast bowler Ray Lindwall used to enjoy seeing a batsman do that, and used to occasionally push one down the leg side to him because he was already committed to his offside stroke and would have to play a long way away from his body.
Another interesting thing about Titmus, he really has struggled with a bat this season. He made 350 runs only before this test match began, 8 in the first innings, 29 now. So he's really got to go some to complete the double this year. Don't see how he can manage it this time. Calling was bowled pretty steadily this morning with a little bit of movement in the air. England still too short.
It's a very good effort for them to get up to this stage. The loss of only 2 wickets. Once they get the extra 2 runs, they're virtually 2 for naught. with the Australians forced to bat last. So it's pretty level pegging, I would think. Time is the all-consuming thing here, the thing that comes into it most of all. Will England have enough time to bowl Australia out?
2 for 0 Australian-wise, 0 for 2 English. Yes, Richie?
Well, when in Rome or the Oval, I suppose, we must do as the Roman English do. It's 0 for 2.
Hawk in the covers. So that brings England within 1 run. 196 for 2. Boycott 109. Kenzie. Vivas then, 23 overs, 10 maidens, none for 48. Titmus has made 29, all of them today. Boycott has moved from 74 over the weekend to 109 now. Here comes Graham calling. Coming up for his 12th over, 29 runs so far. Boycott, who made his first Test 100 just about 4 hours. Just a shade over it. That's it, 197. Level pegging now.
Which means now that Australia has to bat again, Peter. But now that's a good performance, and now they start building on this. 2 wickets down, no runs on the board, starting from tours.
.65 this morning, Richie, in an hour and a half plus 10, isn't it? 100 minutes, just short of that.
Yes, on paper they've done very well to still be there. They haven't lost any wickets, and they can of course start to throw the bat after lunch. I think perhaps they're just a little bit behind the clock and behind what the tactics call for. That is just about the spot I was talking about where Lindwall used to operate to these fellows, Peter. When they're committed to that front movement, you can see there that Titmus had to play right across his front leg, and he was playing well away from his body, trying to push it down to fine leg there. Lindwall was a master at that. So I think they're a little behind what they should be at the moment. Cowdrey and Barrington, Parfitt and Parkes will have to push it along now. They've got just 2 sessions really to make, I suppose, something like 250 runs, which means they've got to score at 1 a minute in the next 2 sessions to set Australia about 250 to make.
Yes, I think undoubtedly they must from lunchtime on. They've got the base now, haven't they? A very firm base.
Yes, they've got more than a base. I think Titmus has played very well, but again I question whether it was a wise thing to send a night watchman in on Saturday night in a situation such as we had where Dexter had been going for the runs. The light wasn't all that bad, the pitch was quite good. May have been better to have a batsman coming in and be able to continue this morning. If a batsman can't last out the 20 minutes left, then a night watchman has less chance.
Boycott moves to 111, and the England score 198 for 2. And just to remind you, if you've this moment come in front of a screen, England are 1 run ahead, 1 for 2 now, looked at in another way. A day and 2/3 left. Off the pad. Get one more over, I think.
Some very interesting dual field placings there, Peter. For Boycott, the man who is 111 is batting very well and is an established opening bat for England. Simpson is bowling Vivas without an outfield. For Titmus, the night watchman, he's bowling in with a deep square leg on the fence and a deep long on.
Titmus here has chanced his arm now and again, just rarely, against Beavers, with some bold hits on the leg side, including that one really splendid low raking 6 over the top of the short legs. Calling now to Boycott. Boycott in this innings, when he has driven, tended to drive straight, but not to hit the spinner with the turn, Richie.
Yes, that's so. He's not a great one for coming down the pitch to the slow bowlers. Generally operates from the crease for all his strokes. It's an interesting comparison there with the footwork of Boycott compared to the footwork of Titmus. Now, if we can only have Titmus make a single, so if you can see the difference, that Titmus, as I said before, does commit himself to this forward stroke across the stumps to the off stump, as you'll see here. There it is, he's there before the ball's delivered. Boycott, on the other hand, had a little shuffle of the back foot first, Peter, to take him across to the off stump with the back foot, and then he moves his front foot. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if Grout hasn't had a word with Calling, Peter. Grout was the one who used to be keeping wickets for Lindwall when that great bowler moved to Queensland, and they had a fine combination for some years up there once Grant had taken over from Talon. This is one of their favourite things when they had a batsman like this, to fire one down the onside occasionally. Lindwall picked me up 3 times in 2 years in exactly that way. You can see Grout's movement there. He's well across. As soon as he senses that calling is going to push it down the onside, he's over there waiting for the catch.
Wally Grout has certainly covered himself with distinction in this match. There was doubt whether he'd be able to play after a hairline fracture of a thumb. Batted well, 20-odd runs. Magnificent catch in the first innings, diving to his right. And so to lunch. 2 runs ahead, 2 wickets down. Boycott 112. Titmus 29, all of them today. Boycott from 74 overnight or over the weekend. And the bowling figures as they come off the field. Mackenzie, 2 for 71 off 23 overs. Pauling, none for 31 off 13. Hawke, none for 44 off 24. There he is, on the left. Boycott getting a fine ovation from a crowd not as large as we had on the first 3 days. Beavers, 24 overs, 10 maidens, none for 49. Simpson 1 over of leg spin, which cost him no runs and enabled his quick bowlers to change ends. The weather is a little brighter than it was an hour ago. The forecast for the latter part of the day is not discouraging. Just a quarter of an hour lost first thing, a late start at 11:45. Now for his thoughts on the morning's play, here's Jim Swanton.
This is a very happy story to tell, from the English point of view anyway. The 3rd wicket, which began, you'll remember, on Saturday evening with Titmus coming in after Dexter got out some 20 minutes before the close, has put on 6 or 7 more runs, as you've just heard, and they're still there together, Boycott and Titmus. And so there are all sorts of possibilities now about the game. England are level, just 2 runs on. There are 600 more minutes to play, 240 of them today, barring rain, 360 tomorrow. And so you can start doing sums and working out this sort of thing. For instance, supposing England go on batting well today and at something like the normal test rate, and don't hope for anything too enormous and elaborate, supposing there are 200 runs on today, Australia would then have tomorrow to score 200 to win, supposing England were all out today. Alternatively, England could go on a bit tomorrow and get still more, get 450 maybe, I don't know. But this wicket, as I suggested on Saturday evening when I spoke to you, is still solid and good. And the only people I think who are likely to be much bothered by it are the left-handers, Parfitt, and of course Laurie and Vivers for Australia in the future. But now a bit about this morning, and first of all, a salute to Geoffrey Boycott for his first 100 in a test match. It's not going to be his last by a very long way. He's a very, very impressive young man. He's made his 800 only in this match. He's made 2 of them against Australia, 1 in a test match, of course, and 1 for Yorkshire, and 3 against Lancashire. And that seems to suggest to me what I'm sure is true, that the better the occasion, the better he plays. And that was true of one of the very greatest of all Yorkshiremen, Herbert Sutcliffe, and if he can follow morally and spiritually, so to speak, in Herbert Sutcliffe's footsteps, he won't do far wrong. The game began quarter of an hour late today, and we were lucky really to get play as early as we did. A blustery, rainy morning, but the oval was dry enough to start at 11:45 with the crowd still streaming in. It's a very good crowd, considering that a lot of people must have felt there wasn't going to be very much play. The Australians had a slightly wet ball, I think, to begin with, but considering that Simpson bowled 1 over to enable Mackenzie and Hawke to change ends, it can't have been very bad. Boycott got off well. He hit Mackenzie for 4 and a 3 in 1 over, and then he made a very good straight 4 off Mackenzie to bring his score to 97. And then we had Beavers on for the first time at 20 minutes to 1 with a score at 167, And Titmus, of all people, if I may say so, hit him for 4 and then made a beautiful on-drive for 6 down to the Vauxhall Inn, which is actually exactly what Vevers had done to him when Vevers had first come in on Saturday. Well, that excited everybody rather. Titmus then gave what you might call a technical chance between the 2 slips, bisecting the 2 slips of Mackenzie's bowling. Calling came on for Mackenzie when Boycott was 98, and Boycott, with his 9th 4 and a very good square cut, which is one of his favourite shots, reached his 100. Well, that was the end of the real excitement of the morning. They've gone fairly quietly since then, against good bowling by Vevers, with 2 close fielders up there, Redpath and Mackenzie, very close to the bat, hoping for the off-break to turn a bit sharply. It hasn't so far done so, but they've needed to be watchful and good. Titmus has played his part very well. He's made 29. Boycott at present is 112, and the total is 199 for 2. A very fine recovery by England, whatever happens in the future, and we hope for some good things from this strictly partisan point of view this afternoon.
So there it is, Boycott having moved from 74 on Saturday night. The weather still not unhopeful, and our next visit on BBC One will be at 3 o'clock precisely, and we look forward to the pleasure of your company then. Until then, goodbye from the Oval.